So here's an application problem using the law of sines. It says from a point A, the angle of elevation to the top of a tree is 38 degrees. So here in angle A, we're going to put 38 degrees. From point B, which is 25 feet closer, so the distance from A to B is 25. The angle of elevation there is 48 degrees. How far is it from point B to T? So we're looking for this, that is an italic X there in the picture. And how tall is the tree? So we had worked similar problems to this when we were doing our original sine, cosine, tangent, back in chapter 7 using right triangles. Here again, we do have a right triangle over here between the B, C, and T, that tree. It does form a right triangle. So we will be using some of the traditional trig in this problem. Once we calculate the value of x, we will be able to do that. In order to use the law of sines, since I'm only given one of my sides, I need to find another angle in the triangle to use. So what I'm going to do is, also in the law of sines, I require to have the angle and the side that are opposite from each other in order to work that problem. So since this is 25 for AB, I really need to know up here that acute angle up at angle T. So in order to get that, these two right here on the bottom, they make 180. So 180 minus 48 would be 132. So then 132 and 38, combine those together, is 178. So how many degrees is up here? It's 170. That's a 0. Sorry, 170. So 10. Thank you. Did I say 8? I don't remember if I said 8 or 0. Looked like an 8. So that angle there is 10. Now we have the angle at T and the side across from it. We have the angle at A, and we want the side across from it. So we know that we can use the law of sines, which is like a proportion, to solve the problem in order to find x. So I'm going to say 25 is across from T, so underneath 25 needs to be sine of angle T, which is 10. And then side A is x over sine of A is 38. So we need to cross multiply and solve for x. So 25 sine 38 equals x times sine 10. So we need to divide by sine 10. Divide by sine 10. So x is approximately, need a calculator. So 25 sine 38 divided by sine 10. 88.64. Perfect. 88.64. So x is 88.64. So now in reality, and to simplify this picture down, what I really have going is I have a right triangle. And I just figured out the hypotenuse. And I need this height there. And I know that this angle in the corner here is 48. So if I use my normal trig, I'm using 48 as my reference angle. H is the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse over here. The adjacent would be here, and I'm not going to use the adjacent. And if you remember, our SOHCAHTOA stuff, I want the opposite, and I have the hypotenuse. So that's O and H, which means I need to use sine. So the sine of 48 equals opposite over the hypotenuse, which is 88.64. So put that over 1, and then you can be like thinking about it as cross multiplying. 88.64 sine 48 equals H. So in my calculator, 88.64 times sine 48, 65.87. And it's approximate, so you might be seeing these squiggly equal signs because it is rounded. And that's the height of the tree. Suppose that a parcel of land, triangular, vertices A and B on the roadway, third vertex marked at point C. You'll see questions like this where they're looking across a river. There's one I know that's like that. And they're measuring distances of things that they can't actually walk to. A surveyor measures the distance from A to B and finds that it is 245.8. The lines of sight from A and B to C, that means connecting A to C and B to C, if we're supposedly looking at C. The angles that they form with line AB are 79.46 and 51. You got to look for when they say the word respectively. Since it says from A and B to C, this means that A is the first one and B is the second one. So at A, I have it marked with 79.46, and at B, I have it marked with 51.67. It will make a difference when we are finding our sides. Find the measure of angle C and the lengths of the sides AC and BC, and I'm going to name them. Across from B would be lowercase b, across from A would be lowercase a, across from C, this is lowercase c there, just to help me out when I use my law of sines. So find the measure of the angle and find the missing sides. Give the angle to the nearest hundredth of a degree and the length to the nearest tenth of a foot. So our angle is going to have 2 decimal places and our lengths are going to have just 1 decimal place. So in order to do the law of sines, we must have the angle and the side opposite from each other to start using the formula. So the first thing I need to do is, since I have side C, is I have to figure out what angle C is. So I've got 2 angles, and these are got decimals on them, so I'm going to use my calculator. 79.46 plus 51.67. Be sure you type it in correctly. That'd be a place where common mistakes would happen. That's 131.13. So 180 minus that is 48.87. So this angle is 48.87. That's one of our questions that we were asked to answer, is the measure of angle C, 48.87 degrees. So now we're going to use that and we're going to find A and B. It doesn't matter which one you do first. I'm just going to do A because I like alphabetical order. So A over sine of A, and A is 79.46. Equals, got to use C because it's the one that has the pair with the angle and the side. So side C, 245.8 over sine of 48.87. And then cross multiply, so A sine, that's an A, not a 9, 48.87 equals 245.8 times sine 79.46, and then divide by sine 48.87. So A approximately. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 245.8 sine 79.46. Make absolutely sure that I end that parenthesis after the 79.46, divided by sine 48.87. 320.83. Oh, good. They did want tenths place. Thank you, Megan. So A is 320.8. It's the second one of the answers that they wanted from us. Okay, and then we need to find B. So to find B, we'll say B over sine of B. And after you practice this a few, like after you do tonight's worksheet on this, you will be comfortable using the law of sines. 48.87, and then sine. Oh, that was my angle, whoops. Got to put the side over the sine of the angle. So the side was 245.8. I'm using side C and then angle C, sine of 48.87. So cross multiply B sine 48.87 equals 245.8 times sine 51.67, and then divide by sine 48.87. So in my calculator, 245.8 sine 51.67, and divide that by sine of 48.87. 255.99. So that is side B. And those are the three things that we had to find for that one.